Supreme Controller.
And the Supreme Controller.
Atra.
Atra.
Na. There is no.
There is no.
Vailakshanyam. Dissimilarity.
Dissimilarity.
Anu. Minute. Api. Even. Tat. Of them. Anya. Is being completely different. Kalpana. Imagined idea. Aparata. Useless. Jnanam. Knowledge. Cha. And. Prakriti. Of material nature. Guna. Equality. According to knowledge in the material mode of goodness, there is no qualitative difference between the living entity and the Supreme Controller. The imagination of qualitative difference between them is useless speculation. According to certain philosophers, there are 25 elements, among which as a single category is stipulated for both the living entity, the individual living entity, and the Supreme Lord. Such impersonal knowledge is declared by the Lord to be material. Jnanam cha prakritir guna. Such knowledge can, however, be accepted to establish the qualitative identity of the Supreme Lord and the living entities who expand from Him. Materialistic persons sometimes believe that there is a Supreme Spirit in heaven, but also think that human beings are identical with their material bodies and thus qualitatively and perpetually separated from the Supreme Lord. Knowledge of the Lord's qualitative oneness with the living entity, as described in this verse, refutes the materialistic concept of life and partially establishes the absolute truth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described the actual situation as Achintya Veda Tattva. The Supreme Controller and the controlled living entities are simultaneously one and different. In the material mode of goodness, the oneness is perceived. As one proceeds further to the stage of Vishuddha Sattva, or purified spiritual goodness, one finds spiritual variety within the qualitative oneness, completing one's knowledge of the absolute truth. The words Navailakshanam, Api, Anu Api, boldly affirm that the individual living entity is indisputably part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and qualitatively one with Him. Any philosophical attempt to separate the living entity from the Supreme Lord and to deny His eternal servitude to the Lord is thus refuted. Speculation arriving at the conclusion that the living entity has independent existence separate from the Lord is described here as aparta, useless. Nevertheless, the theory of 25 elements is acceptable to the Lord as a preliminary phase in the evolution of spiritual knowledge. Oh. According to knowledge in the material mode of goodness, There is no qualitative difference between the living entity and the supreme controller. The imagination of qualitative difference between them is useless speculation. We're reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 22, Elements of Material Creation, Text 11. In this chapter, Krishna is telling the world through his very dear friend and devotee Buddha the scientific explanation of material nature from his perspective. Everyone within this material creation has a relative perception of reality. And in one sense, there is no two people that see anything exactly the same way. Because we are seeing through our uniquely conditioned senses, our uniquely conditioned mind, intelligence, and our very unique false egos. Somebody comes before the deity and they cry in ecstatic love. Other people come before the deity and they think, what are these people doing, worshipping dolls? It's the same Krishna. When Lord Chaitanya was coming to Jagannath Puri, he saw Lord Jagannath. He saw Krishna in a threefold bending form, playing the flute and the moon of Sri Radha. He ran ecstatically to embrace Krishna. As he was running across the Kirtan Hall, Jagan Mohan, it seemed like Krishna was millions of miles away. He was running and running. Every step seemed like it was taking years. He was running faster and faster, and then when he finally came just before Jagannath, the ecstasy of being so close to the deity, he completely fell unconscious. Not just unconscious, he was in such an ecstasy of love of God that there was no heartbeat, there was no breath, there was no pulse. He was totally internalized in the bhav, mahabhav of love. That's what a moment's sight of Lord Jagannath did to Lord Chaitanya. And we read some scholars during the British Empire, they went to Puri during Rath Yatra and they saw Jagannath. And it's absolutely blasphemous, their description of what they wrote, what they were seeing. They were describing Jagannath as some sort of monster. He was being worshipped by all these fanatical, crazy people. This gigantic chariot. And ourselves, when we come before Lord Jagannath, who is in this temple today, depending on our mood, let's just speak of who we are, depending on a particular mood of the day, we are seeing, sometimes we're crying, oh, the Lord is before me. Sometimes we're crying, thinking, I have to pay my bills and get to work. See you later, Jagannath. So we're all singing in a very unique way. And a little ant goes on the altar and he sees Jagannath. And what does he see? Or she? I can't tell. It's also a living entity. The ant is a living entity identical to us as far as the quality of this Atma, the spirit soul. Seeing Jagannath in a different way. Krishna tells in Gita, Yega tamam prapadinte tamustadaya bhajam. And as you surrender unto me, I reveal myself to you. And material energy is Krishna's nature. Krishna says this material energy, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is divine, because it's emanating from me. In the 10th chapter of Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo vata sarvam I am the source of all material and spiritual things. Everything emanates from me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. The absolute truth is perfect and complete, and everything emanating from the absolute truth is perfect and complete. And Janmati Sangataha, everything is emanating from Krishna. So therefore everything essentially is perfect and complete, if we see it in relation to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada tells a story in his own life when he was younger. He was cooking puris for his deities. And then the Japanese, during World War II, began to bomb Calcutta. There were air raids going off. There was bombs exploding. People were screaming, people were running to the air raid shelters underground. They said, Abhay, come to the air raid. Prabhupada said that Krishna has come in the form of his bombs by being prepared puris. He saw Krishna in the bombs. Other people saw death in the bombs. Prabhupada explains how this relative consciousness affects all of us by the analogy of the kitten and the cat. The mother cat holds the little kitten in her mouth, and the kitten is feeling shelter, love, and complete satisfaction. Now when that same mother cat holds a rat in her mouth, same teeth, same cat, but the rat is horrified. He sees death personified. So it's just a matter of our perception. And our perception is very much according to our particular state of consciousness and our relationship. Where a non-devotee or a person who is on the bodily concept of life, death is the most horrible thing. It's the end of everything. But for one who is connected to Krishna, death is a beautiful gateway to walk through to meet the Lord. We have seen devotees in this stage. A simple little devotee, Stoker Krishna, he was just about 32 years old, and he got this cancer that kills you within a month when it's detected. He was just married a couple of years before. His wife was pregnant with a baby. When I got the news I was at the bedside of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami in Gita Nagari. When I came to Gita Nagari, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj he said, and everybody else was saying that he probably only had about 2 or 3 more days. And he said, please stay with me. So I stayed. He continued on for 8 weeks. So while I was there, I got this call out of nowhere. Stoka Krishna Ji was so healthy and young, vibrant. Somehow or other, he lived. He only had a month, but he lived about 6 months. His wife gave birth to a child, a really beautiful little baby daughter. She was showing it to him. For some people, why is God doing this to me? What did I do? Deserve such an early, horrible, painful death. See a little baby daughter and then have to die a few days later. I was seeing it from a completely blissful perspective. I was saying, why did this happen to me? Why did I, undeserving as I am, get to chant so many rounds in my life? And why did I get to hear so many Srimad Bhagavatam? And why did I get to associate devotees so many times? I didn't deserve that. And why did I get to be a part of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada's movement for over 10 years? And why? Why was I allowed to engage in so many wonderful kirtans and so many wonderful services and have so many darshans in my life? I didn't deserve that. He was happy. He was grateful. He was smiling. Whoever came in the room, he was smiling. Even though he was in terrible pain, he was emaciated. His backbone had deteriorated. He was crippled. He wanted to just express his gratitude to everyone, and wanted everyone to just tell him about Krishna and chant Hare Krishna. And he was just a second generation common devotee perspective. He was a leader. This is the simple practice. Somehow or other, he emulated what bhakti really is. And he was seen through the eyes of a devotee who really was grateful. He was seeing his disease as a blessing, and he was seeing death as a benediction, not a curse. The day before he left, I said to him that Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas and Krishna were waiting for you. And he just smiled with tears in his eyes. He said, I know, I'm waiting. I can't wait to go there. And he went there the next day. Couldn't wait any longer. And Krishna's in material elements. Nobody sees the same thing the same way. We all see according to our wish. Here in San Diego, we have so many beautiful flowers. One person is looking at a flower, thinking, how boring. Let me go to drink some coffee and get on my computer. Let's go right by the flower and take says, oh, this will look so nice in my hair, and everyone will see it. And another person sees the same flower and thinks this is coming from this particular family of flowers, and this is coming, its origin is somewhere in Peru, and analyzes it according to its botanical origins. Another person sees the flowers, look at the fibers and the fragrance, and the artist, let me paint it. Another person sees the flower and thinks, the beauty of Krishna from this seed. It's just has no fragrance, has no color. It's just a seed in the ground, mixed with some rainwater, and what it has become, what an incredible miracle. Unbelievable miracle. We should celebrate this miracle. It's by the grace of Krishna. Let me offer it to Krishna. Somebody else sees the flower and runs away because they have hay fever. Nobody sees the flower in the same way, but it's the same flower. To speak of how the flower sees you. So Krishna is here explaining how the elements of material creation, there are so many different opinions and so many different philosophies and so many different experiences within material nature. Because material nature is unlimited variegatedness. How it works, why it works. It's absolutely incredible. And yoga means to see the unity. To see how our environment is God's environment. Just like Srila Prabhupada gives the example, when we talk about nature, there's your nature and my nature, and his nature, hers nature. Material nature is God's nature. Mayapyakshena prakriti suyate sacharaksha. Krishna tells all this material existence is emanating from me, and it's all working under my control. It's all mine. Sarvaloka Maheshwara is the proprietor of everything that exists. He's Sarveshwareshwara. He's the supreme controller of all controllers. Because everything is coming from him, everything is his. Bhaktivedanta Thakur in his beautiful song. Manaso deho geho chokichu mo arpinu tuapadi nanda kishore. He's giving his vision. He says, my body, my home, my family, my wealth, my intelligence, my skills, everything. It's all your property, my Lord. It's all yours. I am yours. And therefore, whatever he's seeing, he's feeling ecstatic love for Krishna because he's seeing its connection to Krishna. When we're actually Krishna conscious and we see Krishna's participation in anything in this world, the laws of karma means it's not Krishna that's making this happen, it's me that's making it happen. But Krishna has set up the system that gives us the opportunity to make things happen. If I do some misdeed, we can't say that it's because of Krishna I'm suffering. Because of my misdeed, my wrong choice that I'm suffering. But Krishna set up the system. So therefore, and happiness, distress, and honor and dishonor, and pleasure and pain is always saying, ultimately, that Krishna's connected. Krishna's the origin. Krishna's there. And in everything, we see its relation with Krishna. And we want to utilize that that experience, that object, as an offering of love to Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. Krishna tells in Gita, for one who sees me everywhere and everything in me, for that person I'm never lost, nor are they ever lost to me. That doesn't mean everything is Krishna, but it means that everything is Krishna. Does that make sense? Krishna tells in Gita, I am everything, but yet I'm separate. I'm the origin. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has explained it in such a precise, inclusive way. There are so many debates, there are so many conflicts based on various philosophical principles of what is the world, what is God, who am I. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave such a comprehensive, precise, and inclusive understanding. Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. That the eternal soul is simultaneously one and different from the Supreme Soul of God. This eternal soul, the Atma within us, is eternally one and different from every other Atma. Material elements are simultaneously one and different from each other. I have a relationship with material existence that is simultaneously one and different. This Achintya Veda Veda conception can be applied to every aspect of life. But it begins when we understand the relationship of the eternal soul within this body and the Supreme Soul of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the sun and the sun ray. The sun ray is identical to the sun planet in quantity. There's absolutely no difference. They both give heat, they both give light, they both give warmth. But the sun ray is just a little part that's coming from the sun. The sun is the complete whole, which includes all sun rays, and the sun planet does not come from the sun ray. So there's a difference. They're identical, and they're different. Quantitatively, completely different. Qualitatively, totally identical. Forever. That never changes. Jivara Swarupoi Krishna Nityadas. Lord Chaitanya told Sanatana Goswami Ji that we are eternally the servants of Krishna. Lamaivam so Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are eternally a little tiny part of Krishna. And because Krishna is, he has total knowledge of everything and he has complete independence. We have that little partial knowledge and partial independence. And when we forget our relationship with Krishna, and we forget the greatness of God, then ahankara, false ego, covers us over. And we start thinking, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the proprietor, I'm great. We are supremely great when we understand our connection to Krishna, because we're part of the ultimate great. That makes us really great. When we forget our relationship with Krishna, then and we think ourselves great, separate from Krishna, that's the source of so many frustrations. Because there's just so many things that are greater than us. Like time. It makes you old. And you lose your memory, and you lose your strength, and you lose your abilities, and you lose your wealth, and ultimately you lose who you think you are. billionaire. And we were in a place in Africa. And we had a nice little house. I was just with him for a day. He was taking me somewhere. And he wanted to take me to a hotel because he didn't like this little house. He wanted to go to a beautiful hotel. So we got in his plane and we stopped for petrol in this one place, and a massive storm came. It kept raining and raining and raining and raining and raining for hours and hours. The pilot said there's no way we could go anywhere. So we were stuck in this place in the middle of nowhere. Well, we ended up in this really, really decrepit little place. So we had a nice place, but he wanted a better place. But in order to get there, we ended up in a really primitive place. I was happier for me, but I'm on the floor no matter where we are. It makes the floors aren't that much different. How many stars are in the hotel? The floor's about the same. So even a little thing like this, you just can't control. It might rain, might be an earthquake. Might be too hot, might be too cold. Air conditioner may go out. And to the degree we want to control things, to that degree we really suffer because we're in anxiety, because we just can't always control things. If we're just adjustable and humble, and we're really happy in it, whether we're billionaires or whether we're Swamis. Whether everything's going right or everything's going right not according to our idea of what's right. And adjust. Basically, we see a higher principle. Simple living, high thinking. Means we could actually be happy in any situation because we're happy with the simple things that we always have, that no one can take away from us. I have the blessings of God, the blessings of Guru and Krishna, the holy name. Somehow or other I'm getting some prasad. And there's love. There's love between the soul and God, love between the Vaishnavas. These simple little things, if we're happy with that, whatever happens in the world, we're happy. If we don't find happiness in that, we can't be happy. Everything's going our way. Because when things go our way, we're afraid of when it's not going to go our way. And that time will come. So how to see the world in a way that we're happy? Is this Achintya Veda Veda Tattva? Now for some philosophers, their idea of this concept of Aham Brahmasmi is that I am God in all respects. Right now, I've just temporarily forgotten, I'm kind of dreaming. When I wake up, I realize I am the absolute truth. I am the supreme personality. I'm the all-pervading, beyond personality. And that mukti, that type of liberation, where we realize that we're not this material body, we're not this material mind, intelligence, or ahankar, ego. We are just the soul. We enter into that sunlight, and we don't recognize our own individual identity. That is sometimes called mukti, or liberation from asa. Realization of the oneness between the Atma and God. But in the spiritual world, it is the oneness and difference. It's the variegatedness of difference that brings about the highest realm of prema, which is lila, the pastimes of the Lord. We can enter into the Lord's loving pastimes to experience God's infinite love upon us, and to express our infinite love toward God, and to see every living being as our eternal loving associates, and express and feel the intimate love between ourselves, and dance and sing forever with Krishna. That is Leela. And for Vaishnavas who have experienced the sweetness of Leela, Prema, and Mukti's pretty boring actually. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was one of the greatest impersonal philosophers of the world. And when he met Lord Chaitanya just took sannyas. I was talking about how Lord Chaitanya fainted in front of Jagannath. And the guards were ready to pick him up and throw him out of the temple. Who is this sentimental crazy person laying in our temple floor? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya happened to be there. He said, no. He's definitely a saintly person. He's in some sort of ecstasy. I can tell by my scriptural analysis. Bring him to my house. And he tested Lord Chaitanya in so many ways, but there was no sign of life. And he took a very fine cotton piece, and the finest, most subtle little threads of that cotton sweat. When he put it to Lord Chaitanya's nose, they slightly moved, so he understood he's alive, he's in ecstasy. But how to get him out of ecstasy? So he started doing all these Vedic rituals to bring the person out of samadhi, out of trance, but nothing worked. Soon after Lord Nityananda and Mukunda died, some other devotees came, Damodar, Jagadananda. They all started doing kirtan on Lord Chaitanya. And he woke up. He came to external consciousness. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told him that you should not go to the temple without me or my associates, because I don't know what's going to happen before Jagannath on your own. And when you do go in, you should stand behind the Garuda Stamba. Which is, I'm not allowed in the temple, so I don't know exactly, but for those of you who have been in, I think the Garuda Stamba is some distance across the Jagan Mohan, the Kirtan Hall, it's on the other side. And Lord Chaitanya honored that. Except on rare occasions, he always stood behind the Garuda Stamba, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told him to do that. And one day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was with Gopinathacharya, his brother-in-law, and he said, what sampradaya of sannyas did this young man, Chaitanya, take his vows? No justification of piety. Sarvabhauma said, that is a lower status of sannyas. I will elevate him to Saraswati sannyas. Gopinathacharya said, he doesn't need you to elevate him. He's the Supreme Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, why do you expect me to accept him as the Supreme Lord? I'm a scholar of the Vedas. Where does it say in the Vedas that he's the Supreme Lord? In the Vedas it explains that the Lord is Tri-Yuga, which means he comes in 3 ages, not in Kali-Yuga. And Gopinathacharya and Mukunda, they began to present so many arguments from the scriptures how the Lord appears in a covered incarnation in the Kali-Yuga. It's very, very succinctly, authoritatively proven in the scriptures. Comes in a beautiful golden complexion in the age of Kali to spread the kirtan for holy names. Krishna Varnita Sa Krishna Sarvabhauma Shuvarshka Yagyai Sankirtanam Vijanti Ishwari. Sarvabhauma and his students, they were arguing, and ultimately the argument Gopinathacharya, he got frustrated with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He said, the Lord, the Supreme Lord, the object of everyone's ultimate devotion is standing right in front of you, and you cannot even recognize it because you have no love. You have not received even a drop of his mercy. You are like a dry, old, stale rice cake. Sarvabhauma said, we're just having a discussion. Don't get so angry. Gopinathacharya went to Lord Chaitanya and said, this is what he's saying. And Lord Chaitanya said, he's treating me like a father to a son. He's showing me affection. I receive that. I honor that. I love that. We shouldn't be harsh on him. I very much appreciate it. And one day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says to Lord Chaitanya, you're only 24 years old, you're very beautiful, you've taken sannyas, you'll never survive. Unless I teach you Vedanta. And a person was telling the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I will teach you Vedanta. What did Lord Chaitanya say? He bowed down to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya with folded hands and said, you are my guru and I am your disciple. Please protect me by teaching me Vedanta. There you go. So they sat in Jagannath Temple for 7 days, and every day, all day, from morning till night, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was explaining the Vedanta philosophy according to the monistic conception. And Lord Chaitanya, very politely, respectfully, every day he would come in, he would offer his pranams, he would say, Lord, my Guru, please instruct me. Sarvabhauma would instruct him, Lord Chaitanya would sit and listen. And after 7 days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked, you haven't asked any questions. I don't know if you understand it or not. Why are you so silent? I've been talking so much. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand this Vedanta? And Lord Chaitanya very politely, very respectfully, very affectionately, he said, I understand Vedanta quite well. It's so easy to understand. It's like the noonday sun in a cloudless sky. But your interpretations are like a dark cloud that completely obscures the true meaning of Vedanta. And you see, because of the way Lord Chaitanya showed affection and respect to Sarvabhauma, he already totally conquered his heart. If he said it any earlier than this point, Sarvabhauma would have been offended. He wasn't offended because he loved Lord Chaitanya. He would do anything for him. And Lord Chaitanya, he felt so much respect and love coming from this sannyasi. He said, well, do you have a better idea? Lord Chaitanya said, yes. And he explained. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya realized that it's a better idea. And he became a great devotee. Became such a great devotee. Famous verse by Lord Brahma, Mukti Pade Sabeva, Tatenu Kampam Susmik Shamano Bunjan, Evat Vidam Vivagam, Vivad Purvir Vadadam Namaste Jivetis Mukti Sade Sabaya. And very proudly one day, he said to Lord Chaitanya, since I have tasted the sweetness of the Leela of the Lord, the prema, I've understood this Achinta Veda Veda Tattva that are simultaneously one and different from the Lord. The oneness and quality were such an ananda. The difference is only there to facilitate the ecstasy of loving relationships. This is the genius of Krishna's creation. The oneness between ourselves and God is to facilitate our eternal blissful condition. And the difference, why did God make us with the difference? So that there could be the deepest unlimited, most profound, loving affair between us and God, and us and each other. That's why the difference is there, simply to facilitate the highest ananda or ecstasies of prema. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, since I have tasted the sweetness of bhakti, the word mukti makes me disgusted. Or as we say here in America, turns me off. So he said, I have corrected the Srimad Bhagavatam. He changed mukti pade sadayava to bhakti. Changed the word mukti to bhakti. Lord Chaitanya said, you're not allowed to change the Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, no, I must change it. I can't tolerate this. And Lord Chaitanya said, this is the words of Brahma. In the highest revelation of his ecstasies of love of God, he said this verse. Shukadeva Swami repeated it. And then Lord Chaitanya said, you should understand that mukti, the supreme perfection and essence of mukti, is prema. So therefore, mukti is a good word. We just have to understand it from a proper perspective. Again, perspectives. One person sees mukti as, I've heard so many things about mukti. I don't want to get into too many details in front of the deities, but I've heard somebody say, after they were constipated and they had a motion, they attained mukti. Sorry about that. And other people, mukti is to get political independence from a subduing power of the nation. Yes, America got mukti from the British. India got mukti from the British. For other people, mukti is no more suffering forever. To become one with the Absolute. To extinguish our personality forever. And just forever exist in pure being. No form, no characteristics, no anything. Just exist in a blissful state of consciousness. That's enough understanding of mukti. And Lord Chaitanya taught, that is mukti. The most developed, highest revelation of mukti is to be liberated from all the temporary conditions of conditioned life. No more suffering, no more birth, no more death. To be completely free to engage in serving Krishna in any and every way our heart desires ecstatic love in the spiritual world forever. That's mukti too. That's the perfection of mukti. So the Lord told Sarvabhauma, so keep the Bhagavatam as it is. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, I'll keep it as it is because you ordered me, but still I don't like that one. Because I have too many experiences with it in a different way. And one morning, Lord Chaitanya, early morning, the Lord came with some Mahaprasad from Jagannath to Sarvabhauma's house, and the Lord called his name, and he heard Sarvabhauma wake up from bed. And as soon as he woke up, he was sleeping, because it was very early, still dark. And he heard Sarvabhauma say, Krishna, Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said, you just see, as soon as he wakes up, he's crying out for Krishna. And when he came, Lord Chaitanya walked in and gave him the prasad. And Sarvabhauma immediately ate it. The Lord said, you are a very, very high according to Brahminical standard, you don't just eat something when you wake up. You have to wash your mouth, and you have to take your bath, and you have to do your puja before you eat anything. And you're just eating. Why is this? And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya chanted a beautiful verse that said, Mahaprasad is Krishna's mercy, and it's transcendental. And even if it comes from a distant place, even if it's a little stale, one should not hesitate from immediately honoring that prasad. Lord Chaitanya, his heart fluttered with ecstasy. He said, the ultimate purpose of my incarnating in this world has been fulfilled because a hard-hearted speculator like Sarvabhauma has now understood the glory of Krishna's prasad. Again, prasad. Prasad is not different than Krishna. We're all seeing it in different ways. And how we approach it is how we're going to benefit. Somebody eats a little prasad and they think, it's not made right. Who made this? There's too many chilies. Another person thinks, doesn't have enough chilies. This is a challenge in India. We have a lot of South Indians in our ashram. And if they don't have chilies, it's like eating sand for them. And other people, the slightest bit of chilies in their mouth is on fire and they can't tolerate it. Yes? Too many chilies, not enough chilies. So how do you make prasad to make everyone happy? We've tried many different methods. Sometimes we make 2 different batches. One for the chili eaters and one for the people who love chili. Other times we just make it without chilies, and we just give whoever wants chilies, we just give them chilies to us. Tried many things. It's something that's one of the challenges of this world. But it's prasad, whatever it is. That's the important thing. Krishna's mercy. It's not just what we like. It's what Krishna's blessing us for. Krishna, I don't like this mercy. Give me a different kind of mercy. It's a higher conception. Again, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I think it's time to end class. I'll say one more little story, which is always a favorite for Swamiji's, and sannyasis, and grihastas, and everybody. Radhanath Das Goswami, he was eating the finest foods in a house of multi-billionaires. And he left it all and was living as a sadhu in Puri. His father was sending him money to eat luxurious foods. And he would just use all that money to feed all the Vaishnavas. To feed Lord Chaitanya. And then he would just beg. When the priests came out of Jagannath's temple, whatever they would give, he would just accept it. And after some time, he stopped doing that. He started going to the free booths where the homeless people would go. And after that, even that was too luxurious for him. In the middle of the night, he would go to one place outside one of the gates of Puri, Jagannath's temple. And what happened is the rice of Jagannath, after it would come out of the temple, the priests would give much of that rice to the shopkeepers. And the shopkeepers would sell the Mahaprasad. that Mahaprasad didn't sell, it started getting decomposed and rotten, then they would throw it into this big pile where cows would come and eat it. And some of the rice that was so rotten, the cows would chew it and spit it out. And that was what was left on that pile at night. Because all the rice, all the decomposed rice that was even the slightest bit palatable was eaten by the cows. And the cows all went to sleep. It was late at night. All that was left was the portions that were just unpalatable even for cows. Radhanath would collect that because he saw it was Jagannath's prasad. And he would wash it. And he would take that hard little inner part of it and eat that below. And that's all he ate, nothing else. Lord Chaitanya heard about that. When he came to Radhanath's house, he said, I heard you eating sumptuous prasad, Radhanath. I want some. Radhanath said, no, I'm not. The Lord knows everything, and he knew exactly where that prasad was. And he reached behind Radhanath, who was hiding it, and grabbed it. And the Lord took a portion of it and ate it. And Radhanath said, no, don't eat this. It's not fit for you. And even Swarup Damodar Goswami, the Lord's secretary, said, that's enough. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in ecstasy of love, he said, I have tasted so many cakes and sweets and sabjis and other prasad from Jagannath and from others, but I have never tasted anything so delicious as what Raghunath Das is eating every day. And what was he seeing? He wasn't seeing from a sensual perspective. Well, he was, but not from a material sensual perspective. He was seeing from a spiritually sensual perspective. He was seeing the love, he was seeing the grace, he was seeing God in that food. From this perspective, that's what we should be cultivating. To see every situation connected to Krishna and respond to every situation in a way that we show our love for Krishna. That is bhakti, harmonizing everything, everywhere, everyone in the spirit of gratitude and love to Krishna. Even the most difficult times, we obviously we don't see goodness in evil, but we see the opportunity to be good and to love even in the face of evil. Because we see Krishna in every situation, he's there, waiting to receive us. And this is the concept of Achintya Bheda Bheda. Unity and diversity. Simply as a facility that forever allows us to experience Krishna's love and to love Krishna. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes. Great. Please.
Thank you, Maharaj. As we are going through our path of devotional life, devotional service, how much of the things that come our way should we see as manifestations of Krishna's mercy versus simply our karma playing out?
declaring how it is Krishna's mercy. How is it Krishna's mercy? The laws of karma are ultimately meant to sober us from the intoxicated state of trying to be the enjoyer, controller, and proprietor of this world. When we act selfishly in such a way that it causes harm to others, then we have to pay the consequence. So we may have done that in the past, and now it's coming back to you. So we should understand it's because of me that it's happening. Can't blame God. Your father gives you $1,000 and you use it. I know one person, his younger brother. Father worked so hard his whole life. I grew up with these people. Father was the wealthiest person in our neighborhood. He really worked hard. And part of working hard is you leave behind for your children the estate. So he left behind a large sum of money for his two sons. One son invested it in some land. They got cows and horses with that money, and got married and got children, and were living in this nice land. And the other boy, he had the same exact amount of money, but he decided he got in some bad association and learned that he could quadruple the money in a matter of a day. He just invested in one transaction of cocaine. So he did, and he got arrested. And that boy has been in prison now for 30 years. He got a 50-year sentence. He's still in prison, happened 30 years ago. So one brother is in a beautiful ranch with horses and cows. He's got his own airplane, he's got his cars, he's doing all that. The other boy's in a little cell. It's the same exact money from the same father. It's just a matter of choice. Yes? So Krishna gives us everything. He gives us free will. And if we use it in such a way that we're going to have to get, karmic reactions in a negative way, we can't blame Krishna. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Krishna comes again and again and again to teach us what is Dharma. He's given the Bible, he's given the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, he's given the Book of Mormon, he's given the Buddhist sutras, he's given the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Vedas, the Upanishads, he's given us the Native American Indian codes of conduct, he's given us basically maybe different degrees of elevated conception and understanding and realization, but there's common moral, ethical principles. Yes?
The prasad that day from the cow, why did they think that was the best?
Why didn't Lord Chaitanya think that was the best? Cow prasad?
Yes, they didn't, he had all the good ones, that's why.
Because Lord Chaitanya is bhavagragi. You see, when he was eating, when you eat something, when you see something, when you touch something, everything is relative to our consciousness. Lord Chaitanya wasn't just tasting the grain, the decomposed fermentation that had been covering the grain, and the saliva of a cow. He wasn't tasting that. He was tasting the love and the spirit of devotion of Radhanath Swami. Yes? Just like if you love somebody and you have a photograph of that person somewhere in your house, or in your car, or in your wallet, or wherever you want it. When you look at that photo, do you just see a piece of kind of plasticky paper with photogenic colors in it? Because that's actually all it is, right? It's just a piece of paper with different types of paints on it and colors. Yes? What do you see? Your heart feels, we see a photo of Srila Prabhupada. In one sense, the photo is just a piece of paper with the different varieties of colors in it. And we see it, and our hearts melt in ecstasy, and we surrender our lives. We feel all the mercy. We remember Prabhupada's instructions when we see that picture. You go to a funeral and you see a photograph of one's departed mother. People look at that photograph and they cry. And really, what's the photograph? Because they're remembering the mother when they see the photograph. They're remembering all the love she gave, all the things she did, all the words she spoke. Yes? So it's the consciousness that gives us an experience. If somebody's mother passed away 50 years ago, and she used to make banana cake for you. Could you imagine if she came back after 50 years and made banana cake for you? What would it taste like? It wouldn't just taste like banana cake. It would taste your mother's love in it. I'm using very crazy creative analogies, I'm sorry. But the principle is this. When Lord Chaitanya was eating that rice, he wasn't just eating rice. He was tasting the love, the devotion, the renunciation of love and devotion of Radhanath Swami. And there's nothing more sweet than that. Krishna accepts our love. Shambhari was taking fruits out of her mouth and giving to Ram. He tasted nectar because she did it with such simple love. Krishna just ate a banana at Vidura's house, and he was in ecstasy. Duryodhana cooked a massive feast of hundreds of preparations by the best cooks in the whole kingdom, and Krishna wouldn't even look at it. Krishna is our love. And if we feel Krishna's love, we can actually feel happiness in any situation because we're connected to that love. I often give the example of Bhakti Swami when he was in cancer state. And one day his body was trembling in pain. It went right into his bones because the pain would go up and down. His last stages of cancer. I was trying to speak to him. Every day of that day, I could see he couldn't concentrate. His whole body was trembling in pain. Agonizing. So I started to just chant the names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. He was chanting along with me. And after a couple mantras, he smiled in a blissful way that it was beyond human happiness. His smile lit up the entire room. His eyes were glistening in ecstasy. He started crying in joy. What a smile. It was spontaneous. He was still trembling. The fact that he was going to die was the same. He said, it doesn't get any better like this. He said, I would not change my position for anyone else in the entire world right now. Because I'm tasting the sweetness of God's name like I've never done before. How many of you want to be in that position? But that's what consciousness can be with us in any situation. Does that answer your question? I think we should end now. Thank you very much.
So, dear Vaishnavas, we have prepared a nice breakfast for you, and we'll be served out on the patio. I think someone's just pulling out some extra chairs for all of you to sit on. Hopefully we'll have enough tables. You'll have to use your ladders. And then when you're done, if you could, we'll be giving you all metal plates. If you could wash your plates afterwards.
Hare Krishna to you too.
Your sins out there in the sun. Thank you.
I bought that for you today. Oh, you did? We're going on the altar tomorrow morning. So.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right.